Chapter 6, Remembering the Holidays, Making Rafts and Sails. The holidays were coming. You could just tell by how the weather was changing. This was my favorite time of year. Sometimes family members who lived far away would come and visit. It is so fun to see all my cousins. Mama said we might have company again this year. First, there will be the Harvest Festival. We call this the Feast of the Tabernacles, or Rosh Hashanah. This is a celebration of how God blesses the harvest of our crops. It will last for 7 days. It is all very fun, but very serious too. We want to be sure to give God the glory for our bountiful harvest. Then, before the Passover, we will always remember Jesus' birthday. We give gifts to each other in honor of his birthday. I know it sounds pretty funny, but this way we let people know we love them. It all started when those wise men came to visit Jesus and brought him gifts. They brought him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. He was just a little boy, but it was because they knew he was the Messiah that they brought these expensive gifts to him. Our celebration of Passover will come shortly after Jesus' birthday. This is the time we remember our history. Long ago, my people were slaves and God didn't like it. So God did a miracle to make the king let the Jewish people go. We call this Passover. During this week, we do not work during the first or the last day. Also, we eat special herbs and our flattened bread. The bread is something like the manna, which God provided during the years before our people reached the Promised Land. At the synagogue, the rabbi reads the 10 Commandments. But it is only the end of summer. There is still a lot of work to be done. When I was helping Papa in the garden, he said something strange. He mentioned that the business in the carpentry shop was a little slow. People aren't moving to Bethlehem like they were when we moved here. So Papa isn't building as much furniture as he once did. He said he was thinking about moving back to Capernaum. Boy, that would be something. I've missed fishing. In Capernaum, we used to make toy rafts from some scraps of wood from Joseph's carpentry shop and race them along the shoreline. That's one there. Then we would tie the pieces together. Well, let me back up. The pieces were held from our fingers to our elbows to make sure they were the right size. Then we would tie the pieces together with string and fix it to a stick to stand straight up on top. Next, we would get some fabric pieces for Mama to use as a sail. When the wind was just right, our sails would fill up and the rafts would scoot along the water perfectly. We tied a long string to them so they wouldn't get too far away from us. Papa used to take me fishing all the time when we lived there. Papa was a great fisherman. He would sometimes allow me to bring Morty along. We would go out in the boat and row really hard to get where we knew the fish were. That's hard work, rowing. I was glad when Morty would come because he and I would take turns. Then we would throw our nets out and wait. Oh, the waiting. I did not like waiting. All of a sudden, Papa would say, "Okay, Simon, let's pull them in." And we would start pulling up those nets. Most of the time, the nets would be bursting with fish. We would even share with our neighbors when we got back into town. Well, back at home, Mama had supper ready on the roof on the summer house. It was so hot, and she had some fish she brought back from the market. There was also some rice, Mama's garden vegetables, and fresh bread. Eating the fish reminded us to talk about moving back to Capernaum. Andrew seemed to be excited about it as well. Mama said she would pray and ask God what he wanted us to do. That night, we all went to bed a little early. We wanted to be in a quiet place so we could pray and ask God about the move. Sometimes after I pray, if I'm really still and quiet, I can hear God speaking to me in my heart. So I try to fall asleep right away. I try not to fall asleep right away. It felt good to leave it all in God's hands.